Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's HazardGold here with my review of the Bahrain 2013 Grand Prix that literally just occurred about 20 minutes ago. This is going to be some gameplay in the background of Formula 1 2012 at Bahrain, where it's very cloudy for some reason. Anyway, by the way, just before I start, I just want to say huge thanks to all the views I've achieved on my predictions video or preview. It means a lot. It means a lot to me. I mean, I can't emphasize that in words. For a channel my size to go over 200 views is a lot, so I appreciate it so much. I hope we can get the same in all videos throughout the year for F1 2013. Anyway, let's go into the review of what happened. So, I'll read out the results of the people and I'll let you know what happened. So, first we've got Sebastian Vettel. It's a very dominant win for him. I mean, he led literally from about lap 5 onwards, where he overtook Rosberg. But before that, he overtook Alonso into turn 5, which is not a place you want to overtake. It's only if you've got a really good run, a really good car. So that sort of summed up Vettel basically. After the first 5 laps, that was it. He was gone, he was out of sight. He overtook Alonso at turn 5, that was about his main highlight. And then he overtook Rosberg and didn't lose the lead from then on. Second place was Kimi Raikkonen, who I feel could have definitely won the race if he hadn't had that qualifying penalty. Because, I mean, he finished second and he would have easily have kept up with Vettel, I think just about, along with Alonso, but we'll get on to him a bit later. But Kimi Raikkonen, even, the qualifying I think really let him down. He didn't have that many race highlights, I don't think. He overtook a few people, not a lot basically. Not a lot happened with him. He just managed to beat his teammate throughout the pit stop phase, and that was the main highlight for him. And third, it was Romain Grosjean. Now, Romain Grosjean, for those of you who don't know, has returned to Formula 1 this season. He has been out of it for the last 3 races, but don't be fooled, he is back in this now. He's definitely back in the hunt for wins, getting his first podium since Hungary last year, and also completing the same podium as he did in 2012 at the Bahrain Grand Prix of Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen and Grosjean. But Grosjean, he had a very strong race throughout, and he had a lot of good fights as well, especially with the 2 McLarens and Mark Webber as well, which is good to see. I couldn't remember his name. Then after Grosjean, we have one of the drivers of the day, that was Paul di Resta in 4th place, equaling his best ever finish in Formula 1, matching him in Japan, I believe. I may be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But he was in 3rd until a heartbreaking moment where Grosjean got him for the podium places, which hurt him so bad, but it's still a great result for Paul di Resta, elevating him in the championship by well over 10 places. It's a really good result for him, and everyone's just really proud of him. I mean, Force India, they looked strong all weekend, and if Sittul hadn't made contact with Massa, he would have probably been up there as well. But everyone thought it was going on for a podium, and then just in the dying laps on that 55, Romain Grosjean, he overtook him for the last podium place, which meant a lot to Grosjean, but it hurt a lot of people, especially Paul di Resta fans and everyone from Great Britain, unfortunately. 5th was Hamilton. He had a very good second half to the Grand Prix. I mean, but however, that obviously meant he was let down by the first half, where he was in mostly fuel conservation mode. Once again, Mercedes going a bit too aggressive on the strategy and trying to look after tyres. But I mean, the second half definitely made up for the first, because I think at the end of the first half, Hamilton was in, I think it was 11th place, and he came through to finish 5th in the second half of the Grand Prix, which was very good for him. Good result, proving that there was pace in the car, it just didn't have it, because they were trying too aggressive on the strategy. 6th we got Perez, and that is my driver of the day. He slightly beat Paul di Resta in my driver of the day, but Perez is, he's just, I've had so much respect for Sergio Perez, which is why this video gameplay is of Sergio Perez in the Sauber. I've got so much respect for him. He had a great Grand Prix. He must have overtook about 50 cars over in total. But he had the main fight with his teammate Jenson Button, which is very good to see. He was able to keep the pace and actually finish ahead of him, which is very good for Perez. He had a lot of great fights, showing he has got the race pace, and especially in front of his sponsors as well, who turned up for this Grand Prix. It's a really good result for Perez. And basically throughout the race he had a great teammate with his great battle with his teammate even. And I think he's definitely filled the gap that Hamilton left behind in McLaren. I mean, that was a big gap to fill. And this Grand Prix, I think he's earned the respect of all the McLaren people, which maybe wasn't there before. And he's definitely filled the gap that Lewis Hamilton left in terms of racecraft and lockups as well, I suppose, in McLaren, because he was looking up into the hairpin every time. But that wasn't too bad. He still finished 6th, a great result for him. I think he's going to be in contention for the win at Spain, but that's for another video. And then after Perez, we've got Mark Webber, who he had the quietest Grand Prix I think out of everyone. No one really took much notice of him, apart from one incident where he hit Nico Rosberg into turn 2. But that was about it. No one really picked up on the fact that he was moving through the field. He was up to 2nd at one point, and then he sort of faded away in the last 10-15 laps and got overtaken by almost everyone to finish 7th. And that's about it, really. It's just, he wasn't there. I think this is more of a recovery race for him. I mean, after China and crucially Malaysia, I think this is just the sort of calming down and getting back used to the swing of things at Red Bull. So that's all that really happened to Mark Webber. He faded towards the end, but he had the half decent Grand Prix, I suppose. Now Alonso, Ferrari were looking very good going into the start of this Grand Prix. They started 3rd and 4th. They were in with a chance until basically the DRS was activated at the end of lap 2. Basically what happened was Alonso was able to use his DRS to overtake someone, I can't remember exactly who it was now, and it stayed open basically, the DRS, and they thought, okay, it's a one-off, we'll fix it in the pit stop. So he came for a pit stop to try to fix his DRS. Then once he fixed it, he went out again, activated it again, and it got stuck open again. And it's basically a problem that sort of cost Fernando Alonso, because he couldn't overtake anyone basically, because the DRS obviously helped you overtake, and he couldn't use that. And so that relegated him to running with the back of the midfield teams with Toro Rosso and Williams for most of the Grand Prix. However, he managed to put it back, being the wily old fox that he is, and finished 8th place. He pitted twice more than anyone because of that, costing him about 40 seconds in pit stops, which is very unfortunate, but that just shows how fast he is. Even with a broken car, he still managed to finish in the points, beating a lot of other drivers. However, his teammate Felipe Massa finished 15th. He had huge problems. His front wing fell off with contact with Adrian Sutil at turn 4 on the first lap. But that wasn't too bad, he was able to keep the pace, and then he picked up a similar puncture to Lewis Hamilton, I think, coming through the same stretch of track, the last straight and the last corner. It wasn't great for him, and that sort of cost him any chance of points. And a lot of people bet him to win the Grand Prix because he went on a different strategy, obviously. Well, not obviously if you haven't seen it, but he was the only one to qualify on the hard tyre. And that sort of puncture cost him, along with the front wing, which sort of cost him overall. So that's pretty bad for Ferrari. They had probably the worst Grand Prix of any team this weekend, not because of their own problems. 9th was Nico Rosberg. He started on pole, but he faded back right from the off. He led about 5 laps until Vettel passed him. And because the Mercedes is so hard on its rear tyres, and this is a rear tyre limited track, where, for those who don't know what that means, is where you're using more tyres in the more of your rear tyres in the traction zones, which means you burn up more of your rear tyres than any other tyre on the car. And Mercedes do that more often than any track anyway, so this just emphasised their problem and basically highlighted it, and therefore Rosberg and Hamilton couldn't really keep the pace, apart from Hamilton's second half. But Rosberg started on pole, finished 9th of course, but because his tyres were going away, I mean, he set a fastest lap at one point, but it just wasn't there. Unfortunately for him, he faded back all the way through the field. He didn't give up though. He was the soldier of the sort of race. He didn't give up. He overtook whenever he could. And finally, the last points playing position was Button. He had one of the best fights I've seen all season with his teammate Perez. He made an extra pit stop at near the end of the Grand Prix, so he had to force stop the Grand Prix, and that sort of cost him from 5th or 6th to 10th place. Unfortunately, if it wasn't for that pit stop, I think he would have been still fighting with Perez. They must have spent out 40 laps fighting against each other. It was pretty extreme. But that last pit stop sort of ended it, unfortunately. I mean, McLaren, I think they're getting better. That's just my opinion. They're definitely getting better. They had a good Grand Prix, I think. first Grand Prix where they actually had the pace, apart from maybe Malaysia, but that wasn't great. This is just confirming that the car does have pace, and Jenson Button proved McLaren wrong by saying we shouldn't go to our old car. Yeah, so basically that was the review of Bahrain. That was the main highlights that happened. Only one DNF as well. Has a gold my review of the 2013 Bahrain Grand Prix. And I'm out of here.